Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, episode 3 is going to be a special one. They've already been swimming in the sea. I'm joined today by Nick Boyle and Lee Wilcox. This is an episode that you're going to love. Welcome to episode 3 of season 6 of the Foy and Jones Show. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this one is special. I'm going to introduce today's guest in a minute, but he has set a huge marker to everyone else who is travelling to our studio in Sussex by the Sea. Charlie Hooler, producer Charlie's here. How you doing, mate?
I'm buzzing, man. I'm happy to be here as
Charlie
always.
is buzzing. He's got a new Jack Grealish style hairdo, which he is rocking at the moment. But today, our main guest, who's come with a sidekick, which I always like. You know, it's thrown the script out of zinc, but we've got 2 for the price of 1. He's set a huge bar. He's travelled by car. He's travelled by air. He's travelled by rail. He's arrived in beautiful Brighton. And I woke up this morning to a WhatsApp message of a middle-aged Scotsman in his blow lamps, which from my part of the world in West London means pants, in his pants, walking down, taking the plunge into the English Channel. DJ Nicky B on the wheels of steel, otherwise known as Nick Boyle. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good, Pete.
Nick, you're joined by Lee today, aren't you?
Yeah, Lee's joined me. I take my own security everywhere.
Yeah, he's got his mind up. It's like half a daily and tell. Which let's get it in early. Minder was set in Fulham, filmed in Fulham, and it's my favourite ever TV show. So there you go. But Nick, this has been a long time coming. All right, this is 3 years in the making, Lee. I was telling you about it downstairs in our, and I love saying this, Charlie, in our pre-show meeting. You know, our green room meeting. Well, as well as talking about Ali McCoist, Jim White, and football, we spoke about where this episode's come from. And Nick, we've been talking about it for 3 years, mate, haven't we? Since lockdown 1 and COVID. So thank you for coming down.
No, I'm delighted to be here. I'm really delighted to be here. So thank you for having us.
No, it's really good. So for the benefit, and there may be a few of my listeners, not many, but there may be a few, mate, that don't actually know who you are. They may not have seen the speeches, they may not have seen the content, and they may not yet have met the personality. But just the floor's yours, mate. What are you doing? Who are you?
That's a good question. Sometimes
that's blown the episode. That's blown the episode, Lee, isn't it?
I woke up this morning and I had no idea when I was in the English Channel. So I either came back or I might have ended up in Cali this morning. But anyway, Nick Boyle, sales director for the brand that is now Juice and Civils Fraser, which is a civils infrastructure and utility business. Proud to head the sales team. But also proud to head up from a BMF perspective the Civils and Infrastructure Forum. So that throws up a lot of things that I'm excited about and I can get involved in. And what we're here today is really talking about how we introduce new people, you know, the stars of the future as you've got up there into our business, how we retain the talent that we've got. And that is something that really for me is massive in this industry. Somebody gambled on me once a long time ago and I'm where I'm here now because somebody gambled on me and invested in me as you get the money, everybody, you know, you get the money as you go, but if people don't invest their time in you can't go anywhere. So that's why we're here today as well, to see how we can push this forward. That's a quality intro, mate. And actually, you know, you are a voice in the industry. You are a voice that's respected. You're a personality that's respected as well. And one of the dangers, I think, because I'm from like the good old days, so it's been a long time since I've been involved in it actually as a full-time role, but the personalities that gave me a chance, the personalities that mentored me, the buzz there used to be about the merchanting industry. I'm a merchant boy first. Everything else comes second. And I tell this story a lot, but I walked into Travis Perkins Fulham for a job and 4 hours a day. And you fast forward to where I am now, 20 years. I mean, my 20th year at Foy and Jones, owning my own business. I wouldn't have achieved any of that
without the chance and without someone taking that chance. And I guess, you know, we're talking to Lee. Lee, welcome to the show, mate.
Delighted to be here.
/Minder, /Harry Kane, which I think was very unfair, mate.
Yeah. I was waiting for it.
Well, I mean, he started it, not me. I would have been really nice. Well, he sent me a connection request last night on LinkedIn. Really nice connection request. And I thought, he looks a nice lad. He's a nice, polite young lad, professional, on point. Within not even 10 minutes, within 2 minutes arriving, Nick slaughtered you. He's absolutely slaughtered you. You can't find the beach. You know, you didn't have your swimming trunks. You went to the wrong.
Most meetings. He
blamed you for the parking when he ignored the highlighted instructions, Charlie. Highlighted instructions.
I had to get out, right? Yeah. Settle the construction workers down because they're fuming, mate. They weren't happy.
That was my fault. #WTC.
Yeah.
I like this. I like that. So Charlie, you know, with all the work going on here, with all the development, we specifically say to every guest, and we highlight it. Yeah. Park next door. Yeah. This is the car park we're all using. You'll get in and out, no problem. Congratulations, Nick. You completely ignored that.
Correct.
Well done, mate. Well done.
That's what I've done all my life.
I'm probably going to get a ticket as well because I went in and then come out.
Oh dear.
Listen, Mr. Hooler's got contacts. We'll work it out.
Just for the record, could we cut that, Charlie, that he's got a ticket? That might end up as his expenses.
It will do.
Oh dear. Not 8 more coffees. Jesus Christ.
No.
Oh no! Listen, that takes me back to my days. Oh man, I love being a rep of the South Valley South Director. But Lee, we're going to talk about your journey as well, because I think inspiring the stars of the future is giving them an opportunity to progress, giving people that join the industry a platform to see the success. And I know it's something you're passionate about, Nick. We've had so many other guests that are passionate about it. But you said something earlier downstairs, and it really kind of hit with me. And I'd like to just go back to that before we talk about Lee's journey. And you said about, you know, we're in danger at the moment of not just failing to attract the next generation, which I call the stars of the future. We're potentially at risk of losing some amazingly talented and experienced people. And I know you've got an opinion on that, Nick, haven't you? So share that with us, mate.
No, I think if you go back to COVID, that was when I suppose the industry was under its biggest pressure regarding people. You know, what was that going to look like? We had the BMF through the CLC. We're able to get the job retention scheme raised again and use that, which was great. And then yourself, you know, fantastic work yourself and doing your own job retention and creating a platform that people could come and not just say, look, I'm out of work here, but this is what it means to me, this is what it means to my family. So I think, you know, we all know that times are tougher at the moment, and people, we've seen it widespread, and you can understand that you know, companies do need to make cuts at time on cost. However, it's really important from our point of view that whether it's through yourself, whether it's through the BMF, the CLC, that we find a way of retaining the quality people that were brought into this business. And you know, coming out of COVID, we've seen some great work. You know, we became a standalone business. We started to stand it up in 2019. We started in earnest on the 1st of January 2020, excited about what the future held. And then in March 2020, we very quickly went into the unknown. But that's thrown up some fantastic skill sets. Our people now have, you know, not just the people within my team. There are individuals in this industry who now know how to manage in a crisis. They know how to manage inflation. They know how to manage communication. They know how to manage, you know, allocation. And I think the whole industry needs to be applauded for that. And it's these people now that we need to you know, the resilience shown by all these people through these times. It would be a shame if we lost the people to other industries now. And if you look at the hospitality industry, that's taken a real hit. You know, everybody's trying their best, but you can see the dip in quality in the hospitality industry. If you go for a meal, if you go for a drink, whatever it may be, it takes time. Sometimes it's not correct. and I've found that you just need to be patient because they're trying their best, but they lost a lot of quality. What we don't want to do is lose that quality that's in our industry. All that good work, you've seen the good work that TP did, Frank Elkins with the apprenticeship scheme. He not just introduced new people to the business, he was able to upskill people within his business. The work that we've done in our brand, the great people that we've got in our business now, we'll look to keep and learning, development, upskill them, and that's what we'll be concentrating on. That really has to be the mantra, and keeping these people in this industry because it's a fantastic industry. I mean, my new boss at the top of the tree now. You know him well, John Carter, and he talks the same way as I talk. When we were at school, nobody said, "Do you want to work in a builder's merchant?" Nobody thought about working in a builder's merchant. But actually, once you get to being a builder's merchant, there's no other job like it as far as I'm concerned. And that love that we have in the job now, that passion that we have now for something we never knew we were going to enter, how do we translate that back the way? And how do we keep the good people in this industry at the moment?
And I think that's such a powerful message. I look back at my journey within merchanting, and I'm so proud of it. And I spent 9.75 years at Travis Perkins, and I ended that journey as London Sales Director for Saint-Gobain and Jewson. And that gave me the minerals, it gave me the confidence, it gave me the self-belief that, I could maybe do something really different and set a business up. And my God, it started really well. I thought I was invincible, but I was probably a little bit naive, if I'm honest. The financial crisis of 2008 or 9 and 10 certainly proved that I was probably nowhere near as invincible as I thought. So that there's permanent scars there, which I learned. And then you travel onwards, and we travel through Brexit, we travel through COVID. I'm lucky enough to say that probably as a personal brand, I grew and thrived. I didn't just survive, I probably grew, and that enabled my business to grow, and our model and where we're positioned now is so much more advanced than it was before the pandemic because of different service-led initiatives, great people. But now I look at the industry and I think, right, okay, we've got to stick or twist, because actually we can celebrate some real success. We can celebrate some real personalities. But we are competing, Lee, not your generation, but generations down. Yeah. We're competing with people who want to be influencers. They want to be on YouTube. They want to be digital nomads. They don't want to work in one location. They're probably at some stage going to want to do a 4-day week, not a 5-day week with the occasional Saturday morning. So we're competing with these type of arenas. So there's wake-up calls all around. The digital revolution, I think, it's coming to some merchants. Some are exceptional, others are waking up to it. But right now, there's a skill shortage. If you talk about installers and fitters, there's attraction problems in terms of, are we getting the right people through? But with the right pathways, with better support of apprenticeships. So I think the apprenticeships are there, but it's whether employers will support them enough. And it's not necessarily the big groups, it's the smaller 1-site, 2-site, 3-site operations. If they can get them into play, there's so much more to do. But then the hearts and minds. I've delivered speeches at schools, at universities, at prisons, right? So there's 3 very different audiences. Absolutely. So offenders at prisons, uni grads or postgrads, and then school leavers or college leavers. So all different audiences. Every one of those environments, and veterans as well, which some are very, where my boy is right now, it's something I'm really passionate about. So if you look at all those arenas, our sector can offer someone a pathway and a career. And if we really get good at celebrating that and get good at attracting the stars of the future, wow, we can make a real difference, can't we?
100%. And I don't sit here as somebody who's achieved all that. I was given a pathway, I was given an opportunity. I've been given many opportunities, and I have many mentors and coaches that I've taken bits from. And I could name a few here today, but it would probably embarrass some of them. But and ones that didn't think they made an impact on me, but they actually did. I've had some good toe-to-toe, through the years. But you have to learn and take away, why did I end up toe-to-toe there? I'm passionate. So as you develop, your passion can override sometimes when you're in situations. You learn how to harness that, and people teach you how to do that. And
I was told that. I was told that my passion, my enthusiasm, my proactiveness, and perhaps my confrontation. To be fair, the challenging. I probably need to just harness that and apply that differently if I want to have the more senior the more senior influence and senior career. And I look back at the people that said that to me, and I'm like, what? But they were so right.
Yep.
And it is there. And there are certain people on my journey that I still call boss.
Yeah,
and I haven't worked for them for 20 odd years, but I still call them boss because that respect's there. And when I was working for them, shout out to Mark Tanner, big boss, Mark, who was like my man, he was the man that gave me that chance on the road, and he was part of an amazing structure led by John, who you mentioned earlier, but particularly Ian Smith, Joe Greenhow. They were real influences on me just by giving me a chance, but also the support. When someone at board level of a major group like that is sending you a little internal email saying hope Fulham do well tomorrow, that's like game changing, and it stays with you now. And I still have banter with some of these people about football, about the industry, and right now. We're right. Yeah, there is something we can all do to stand up and make a difference. But let's stop and let's bring Lee in. Lee, welcome to the show. So let's just talk about your role as part of this man's team, which must be quite a boring, quiet, sedate life. Quite normal.
6:30 a.m.
I described it the other day. 100 mile an hour, 100% of the time. But that's how I am. That's how I've always been. So
I have how's it going? Yes, all right. Yeah, you're working 30 hours a day, 8 days a week. I don't switch off.
No.
I could just imagine there's energy galore.
Yeah.
But your story. Let's go back to where it began for you, because I really like the way that experience you went through to take you where you are now. So let's just share that with the listeners, mate. Let's talk about you.
So I got into a graduate trainee programme through JDP, John Davison Pipes, which is essentially a 2-year graduate programme. Within that period, you spend 3 months in certain different roles, so external sales, branch manager, purchase ledger, category, finance. I stayed in Carlisle and Gretna Green, to be fair, for 7 or 8 months, which was good.
Was you getting married or just floating through? Yeah,
I think there was
a few people didn't get married.
There we go. Just to get another full of reference in. Nick, when I said one of the, we was obviously talking about football. I went, greatest goal, because we got a bit of England Scotland banter in, and I said, by the way, Nick, I know I've told you this every time I see it, but I was there when Gazza flicked it over Colin Hendry's head. But that's my second favourite goal, because my first favourite Fulham goal was at Carlisle away in '97. So you're at Carlisle, not watching Fulham play or not getting married.
Grafton.
What are you doing there, mate?
So I'm in head office, doing the head office functions. But looking back at it, it was going through that process to where I am now. It was fundamental in that grounding, because every single 3-month placement, I went to an absolute beginner, and for the first month, I was treading water. I was in trouble, doing everything wrong.
You were treading water this morning.
Yeah, I was doing everything wrong, but you got into a mentality of you lose and then you win, you lose, you win, you lose, you win. So it harnessed that desire to win all the time. It doesn't matter. Sometimes you're going to lose, but if you learn from it and then you achieve after that, it's just it created a mentality for just sheer desire to win for me. So I'm really thankful for that process, 100%. And looking back at it, there's another lad in JDP, Tom House. He did that programme now, and now he's sitting right at the top of the tree within JDP.
So let's go back to the younger you.
Yeah.
The younger you that arrived at JDP back then. What attracted you to the business?
So I finished uni. I did a nutrition and health degree, which is slightly different.
Only mildly left field of where you ended up.
He's trying to. I'm his new student on that.
How's that get mate? He looks in good shape.
It's working for him.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's probably before I went to uni, I was slightly different. I was always like an underachiever. Like I always was supposed to do well, but I was probably
do better.
Not always a good boy, and I was predicted all really high grades, just bare minimums, didn't revise. And I've always felt, I don't know, I never thought I would go into a corporate world, if I'm honest. So then I went into uni, did that, got into the graduate trainee programme, and then I just loved it. I loved the people, I loved the suppliers, I loved the industry, I love the winning and losing. Nick's mentioned before, you should never go too high, you never should go too low. but it's a roller coaster. The industry is.
That's like supporting Fulham, mate. I don't get that excited when we win because I don't want to get that upset when we lose, mate. But at the moment, I'm probably getting a bit too excited. But that arriving in the industry because it's not what you studied. It's not what you're looking to do. No. So something's happened when you've arrived in the corporate world, and I think the pathway for you to see where you are and seeing like the chemistry and the banter between you both this morning, like there's warmth there, there's hard work there, there's resilience there, because you're going to get big wins, you're going to get big losses, there's going to be all of that commercial trading, and fundamentally for me it all comes back to one key driver, and that key driver is people. And with the right people, any merchant can achieve. With the right people, any business can achieve. And that's what we've got to think about when we're inspiring our stars of the future. And I think from a podcast perspective, having you in the studio, Lee, telling your story, having Mr. Boyle, who's got a few stories, bringing him to life. Let's talk about DJ Nicky B, because I did a post on LinkedIn and it was talking about, you know, my journey in merchanting. My first job was working. Everyone knows this, but I worked on my granddad's market stall, fruit and veg, North End Road, Fulham. That's what I did. That was my first job. That was at weekends. Then I got my first real job in a merchant, you know, very, very junior position. And I shared that and I said, like, you know, tell us where it started, where you are now, and what you wanted to be, which is really the important one. Yeah. We had it in our office once, got all the guests to write, you know, what they wanted to be. And Nick just blew me away because like everyone was telling their story and he went, well, basically my career really took off when I was DJ Nicky B on the Wheels of Steel in Magaluf. Yeah. Living the dream, mate, were you?
Living the dream. You know, I mean,
was that during your merchant career or before your merchant career?
Before.
Yeah, it had to be. Yeah.
But I was in the industry, so I left school and I went through the CITB training courses at the time and YTS and. Far too early for you to know all that. You know.
It's funny numbers.
I got £28 a week and I could do more than that I do on the wage I get now, believe me, you know. I lived like a millionaire back then.
I talk about that, right? I talk about when I was working 4 hours a day, getting paid about 80 quid a week. I was giving like nothing to my hand, like really, like, you know, a couple of quid, I don't know, something. I never had so much money back then. I never had so much money. Those days are gone.
Absolutely, 100%. But that comes back to, you know, what does that come back to? That you know, we'll get onto that as we travel. But I had two great parents, you know, and with two different skill sets, left two different impressions on me. My dad, he was a performer. He played in a folk band, you know, in Ireland and Scotland. Band called the Haymakers. They ended up in Opportunity Knocks, and everybody thinks 1966 was all about England. Well, that's the day that Junior Boyle was in Opportunity Knocks as well, with Hughie Green back then, and so they did that. And then my dad was captain of the golf club, and so he gave me the platform, that centre of attention. That, you know, here I am. I can do this. I can do that. Almost the show-off part, if I'm being honest, you know, but you know, he led a very different life behind that. That was, you know, he was kind of tortured, but he had this outgoing life. So I picked that up from him. So when we went to Magaluf as a bunch of boys, I was at the Scottish office in the roads department at the time. It wasn't really exciting at all, you know, counting cars, you know, and you know, for the Skye Bridge, and to justify that. So when we went there and there was an opportunity came up, you know, we just grabbed it really. I'd done a little bit back home, and then suddenly, you know, once we were over there with the boys, you know.
What year is this, mate?
1992.
Oh, 1992,
you know.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
You know.
That's when I was born.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
Steady on. Yeah. Steady boy. Steady. Yeah. Okay. So, Magaluf, was it?
Yeah. I was 17 then. So come on. Let's just quickly go through your playlist. Let's go through your set list. 92.
Oh wow. So that would
Stone
be
Roses.
No,
Happy Mondays.
Not really. No, the big,
early Acid.
The big one would be on a Raggatip.
Yeah.
That was a big hit.
My day, but what the day.
That was the one. That was the one. Please don't go. Please don't go. You know, that was the next big one. And really just the kind of dance tunes back then that were about in 92.
So tell me you played BCM.
No.
No?
We were across the road from BCM. It was
Joe
a small,
Bananas, wasn't it? Say?
No. It was, believe it or not, it was a small.
BCM's still going, isn't it?
BCM.
Yeah.
When I was there back then, it was a small. It was just it was a nightclub. It wasn't this village it is now. And we played across the road at a bar called Peter Sellers Bar next to Benny Hill's.
Rock and roll, mate.
Glory, you know, ooh, upside your head and all that. You know?
Did you rock the boat? Tell me you rocked the boat.
It wasn't Pete Tong. You know, it's not like Pete Robin fairness. A tribute act, mate. You know, but you know, but that gave me initially, and then you do a bit singing, never as good as my dad was. You do a bit singing, you start getting into a bit of hosting through this industry, you get to go to a lot of dinners, you think, you know, I could do that. I could never be the guy that does the 40-minute slot. That's too much pressure to be funny for 40 minutes. You know, if you do a dull joke.
I don't know, you didn't do too bad down there earlier, mate, to be fair.
If you do a dull joke when you're hosting, you're in between. So you can get away with that one, you know. So that's a bit of a cop-out when you're hosting. But yeah, that, you know, from whether it be DJing, singing or hosting, it's something that takes me away, in fairness. I love doing what I'm doing. But I like that other side of the fence sometimes. I almost become a kind of different person. It's a kind of different world for me.
Like escapism, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a bit. It's not about.
That's it. But you're a sales director. I'm an ex-sales director. He's a sales director. It's in you. You know, it's in you. It's like, I'm going to work this room. I'm going to work this crowd. I'm going to perform it, whether it's your customer, whether it's there. To tell you what, BCM, mate, I was 15 years of age. So, you know, they didn't really do ID checks back then, mate. Back in it was all right. I remember going into BCM, and the live act at the end of the night, it was Adamski, Killer, with Seal. Right, and this is Seal before Seal was big, so he was singing live. I had no idea who he was, right? I was like, oh yeah, this will be fun. And then, like, fast forward a few months, he's like Adamski are big, he's big, they're all over the dance scene. So I've got happy memories of BCM, but I was a couple of years before you, Nick, otherwise I could have been in that crowd. I could have been having it off at the Peter Sellers Club.
Well, you could have been on the boat, you could have been doing it upside your head.
Listen, big shout out to my sponsor, Marcel from MHK Holding UK. That was the first half of episode 3 of the Foy and Jones show, and we are, believe it or not, even though we're doing it through the BCM nightclub, and even though we're doing it, Lee was very serious actually. I'm glad you're here, mate. I'm glad you're here because the Lee story was good, and you know, maybe it's like a family reunion as well. That's the first half of the show. When we come back, Nick, I'm going to get you to share a conversation you had with me about a well-known TalkSport presenter, because I think that's a story which we need to go back to. We'll go back to that, and then we're going to really try and give some powerful advice to the next generation. Thanks for listening. That's the first half of today's Foy and Jones show.
Life-changing recruitment for the KBB, builders merchant and construction industries, creative social content, specialist knowledge, world-leading video technology, helping you find career happiness and helping your business attract its stars of the future. We are Foy and Jones. This is what we do.
Welcome back to the Foy and Jones show. What we're going to do now in the second half of the show, we're going to talk to Lee and we're going to talk to Nick, and we're going to give more advice to the next generation. But before we do that, and I make any more schoolboy errors, what we're going to do, Nick, is we're just going to turn the subject onto something that I love, all of us love. We've got yet another Liverpool fan in the studio, Lee.
There we go.
Yeah, we've got another Liverpool fan in the studio. We've got a Fulham fan, we've got an Arsenal fan. There's a stand-up routine here for you, Nick, and we've got yourself a Celtic fan. Let's talk football for a little bit. How are you seeing the season for your boys at the moment?
It's absolutely tremendous. You know, I mean, you know, we have a manager that not many people knew about. You know, come in a couple of years ago. You know, obviously Steven Gerrard was at Rangers and stopped Celtic doing 10 in a row. That kind of never happens down here in England. There's only 2 teams in Scotland and one dominates for a while. But you know, Ange Postecoglou is the real deal. He is a manager. His leadership, his the way he wants to play football, the way he installs it, the way he empowers his team. You know, for me, it's great watching Celtic win. It's great, obviously, winning cups and beating your biggest rivals in cup finals, and that's something that lives with you all the time. But football and the leadership in football, whether it be Celtic, whether it be Pep Guardiola, whether it be Alex Ferguson, whether it be Jurgen Klopp, these are people that I take a lot from myself in the way that I want to lead and the way that I want to empower my team.
Who do you see yourself as a manager? Cluffy?
Yeah. I can't say that to them. We'll argue for 20 minutes and we'll decide that I'm right at the end. So, no, that's not true, in fairness.
No,
Cluffy.
I'll just throw him in there. You can be whatever you want.
But I think I think the way I like to look at it, I love strategy. So when you look at people like Pep Guardiola and how he sets out where he wants to go, what he wants to do, the tactics on the park. But I think if I was going back, and you look at an Alex Ferguson and the way he led, and I've really read his leadership book inside out. It's fantastic. And then you look at a Martin O'Neill, the way he did it, and the modern day manager is different now. The players are different. There's a different leadership.
Don't
skill,
if you agree or disagrey. I see myself as a bit of an El Tel in the glory days, but no.
You've got the tan.
Yeah, well, mate, I don't know if you've seen me yet. I don't know if you've seen me yet. No, but it's amazing. Who's that, John over there?
It's rub. He got offended.
Dear. Honestly, it is amazing though how much I bring into my world in terms of the football mentality, the coaching mentality, the players on the park. Even when we're giving people, and this is important, we're giving them job searching advice and we're giving them redundancy support. It's sort you've got to get three things in place. Your tactics have got to be right, your approach has got to be right, your head's got to be right. And if everyone else, if your opponents are going to give 80%, you've got to give 100 or 110. And I do believe in that, and it resonates through our industry, whether it's football, rugby, cricket, golf, whatever sports people follow. Those passions, when you see someone who's into it, they kind of become, that little bit more employable, a little bit more engaging.
Well,
there's something there.
It's an interesting thing you talk about that, because although I talk about football managers, I was never brought up on rugby, but I was fascinated as a youngster with two people growing up, and that was Muhammad Ali and the All Blacks, and there was something about them, the stature. And then as I grew into business, I started to create, almost who are the All Blacks, and then I started to see you could actually educate yourself in the way that the All Blacks did things, and
that's a brilliant book.
Clive Williamson did it with England, then he did it with the Olympics GB team. It's a thing called teamship, you know, and the All Blacks were the first to do that, where the leader sets out the framework, they set out the expectation, but the team make the rules. They have to get passed over by the leader initially.
The All Blacks book, the Legacy, I think that's my favourite book.
It's incredible,
I think that the way it takes what the All Blacks does into business perspective, I love that book. One of my boys, we spoke about my youngest boy who's in the Paris. When he passed out, and he's doing really well. One of the sergeants, or corporal, it was one of the sergeants, they gave him the book and said, this is something that could inspire you with leadership. And he's like, my dad's got that.
Yeah.
And I mean, so they're using it from a military perspective. I'm using it from owning my own business perspective. It inspires, people all around, and I think that comes into so much that we see.
The black book that's passed down through teams, every note that's in there comes from players.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to hold each other to account. They need to be empowered to do that, and that's something that. But empowerment comes with responsibility and accountability, and that's a double-edged sword. So you need to coach, you need to mentor, you need to stay with them, but you let them go, and they set the rules of engagement, and they commit to that rules of engagement. It's self-discipline after that as well within the team.
So let's just very quickly, Nick, just for the benefits of the listeners, can we just share your Ali McCoy story that you told me and Lee?
So
this is such a great story.
So is it? I don't know Ali myself, or I didn't know him up to a few weeks ago personally. But through you mentioned their name earlier, getting to know the Talk Sport guys through my ex-boss as well, Paul Edwards. So I was coming up for a funeral on a Friday morning back in November, It was the day before the Brazil-England game, not Brazil-England game, France-England game. I can't remember.
Enjoy that game,
Yeah, I
did you?
can't remember what the result was that night. But anyway, it involved penalties.
How many times do you bring it up, Lee?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
How did you miss that second penalty anyway?
Another low blow.
But so I got myself quite a bit up the road. I was going to an ex-boss, a really influential person in my life, inducing actually when I started inducing in 2012. A great mentor called David McBride. I was coming up to his funeral, and they were talking. Ali was in Qatar, so I texted Alan and said, "Listen, there's a big game tomorrow in Glasgow in Renfrew. It's Glenafar versus Blackburn United, which is Ali McCoy's boys' team versus my nephew's team. Ask him if he's looking forward to the big game." Alan texts back, "I will." So anyway, an hour goes by, and anyway, Ali, you're looking forward to the game tomorrow? And he says, "Oh, Mbappe, Kane, can't wait. What a spectacle it's going to be. I'm over here. The atmosphere's tremendous." He went, "No, I'm talking about Glenafar United versus Blackburn United tomorrow in the Scottish Cup at Renfrew. Your boy versus a friend of ours, Ray Parlow's in the studio, Nick Boyle's nephew." And Ali was like, "How do you know about that? How do you know about that?" So the game was, there was hard frost back in November, and the game got played about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it was at Renfrew, and I went through, the whole family went through to watch our Killian, and there was Ali behind the goal. He arrived.
Quality.
So I just kind of, I knew people would want to go up and speak to him, but I just kind of stalked him.
I can see you subtly. I've seen it quietly making his way to the front. Do you know what I mean?
Celtic supporter approaching a Rangers legend, you know. And I went up there and I just said, "Ali," I said, I'm the guy that sent the text to Alan Brazil. And I tell you what, he gave me time. We had a laugh. We talked about Alan and some of the things, and he's another great guy. Jim White, and because I was involved with the Stillway and Petrov golf days before, and Jim hosted them. He's another great guy, and I love listening to his shows. But Ali, he was an absolute gentleman. They went to the second half. We beat them 5-0, and we were going to Hampden that night. He was a pundit, and he just said to me on the way out, he says, "Listen, big man," he said, "no pelters tonight at Hampden," you know. But he won the Pundit of the Year the other night, and I couldn't be more delighted.
He's absolute quality. You know, from the early days on Question of Sport when he captivated that. You know what I mean? Him and John Parrott went out, I think, back then. And did you remember them? No, he's probably still too young. Lee.
I remember Question of Sport. But not.
I'm Emily and Hughes, Bill Beaumont era. So I'm back in the glory days. But anyway, look, this series, this show, this episode has been fantastic. We've brought personalities together. We've spoken about our love of football. Lee, Liverpool fan, you know, you must be over the moon with the result the other day. All 7 goals of them.
Over the moon, mate.
I think they're coming again. You know, because I think they wobbled. I think they're coming again. I'm delighted because Fulham have avoided relegation. Yeah. So I'm absolutely delighted. But the most important message we want to take away from this episode is inspiring our stars of the future. Yeah. So we're going to wrap the show up, Nick. I'll go to you first, and we can include anything you want to include about inspiring the stars of the future. So I'll let you just talk about that, and then we'll very consolidate that with 3 words of advice you can give to the next generation. So over to you, mate.
Well, I think for me, I think first and foremost, for anybody that this goes out to, or those who can then share the show, there is a magnificent future in our industry.
Well said.
You know, the builders merchant industry now, and when you look at, we are still an industry, and it's quite, you know, for me, I said this earlier, for me being what I would class as a leader in this industry, I'm still embarrassed that I've not seen through what I want to see through, because we're still probably an average age of 43-year-old white male, and we need to change that, and becoming more diverse, more inclusive, and looking at, you know, just where we can attract talent from.
Brilliant.
is what we need to do. You know, if I can just very, very carefully, or sorry, just because actually this had a massive impact on me. We got introduced to a business called Nuneaton Signs through a wonderful woman called Michelle York. Michelle's moving over to another company now on social value. Nuneaton Signs is a social value company. They're invested in social enterprise as well. Social enterprise, they give back to the like down the stairs today in the cafe. But in that business, 75% of their staff, 75% of their staff have some sort of disability.
Fantastic.
So it's either physical, mental, or they've had some issues that they can't find employment. Nobody will give them a job. And I went there, and it was the same day that it was announced that Stark were taking over from Saint-Gobain. You would have thought that at that point the futures of our people would be the best news that I had all day. I went there at 1 o'clock, and it was unbelievable to see these people that were absolutely invested in. It felt like a family.
Yeah.
You walked round, they had every sort of mental disability or physical disability, but you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know. And it's for me and the other people in our industry to understand is, we would probably say before, we couldn't employ people like that because our industry is this. Actually, we need to flip that on its head. How can we?
Yeah.
How can we make our places suitable? Or what can people with disabilities do in our business that we've never thought about before?
That's such a powerful message.
We have to flip it.
We're going to capture so many bits of this series and so many parts and that people say, and I think that is just an absolutely fantastic way to bring the show to its end. So, Nick, let's just ask you first, 3 words of advice for our stars of the future. What would you say to the next generation?
Have a purpose, first and foremost. Want to do something. You know, when I got asked to join the BMF, I said the only way that I'm going to do this is if I can make a difference. I'm not here to tick a box. Swimming in the sea at 6:30 this morning wasn't there because we just wanted to have a laugh. That's part of the purpose. It's part of saying this is what we thrive to do. You know, we want to make sure that people are comfortable being uncomfortable. We want to look after mental health. We want to look after our environment. So that ticked 3 boxes this morning. So have a purpose. Could be anything, but have a purpose. Have a want to do it.
So number 1, purpose.
Purpose.
What's number 2?
2, values. You need values. I spoke about my dad giving me the centre of attention. My mum, and it took me a while, my mum ran her own business for 40 years.
Wow.
Hairdresser. And you don't appreciate what your mum does, really, until you sit back and go, I've ignored this. But when I look at what my mum did for us, and it was kind of just every day, you didn't get it from my mum. It just happened. You got your values. And that first one was respect. Then it's trust, then it's loyalty, then it's integrity. You
Fantastic.
Need that.
So
and you need to be hardworking.
So thanks to your mum. And I think that again. It's so positive to hear your mum being celebrated in a way, not just as your mum, but as a business owner and battling through that for 40 years. So we're going with purpose, we're going with values. What are we wrapping up with? Number 3.
The one and only thing I say, you need a can-do attitude. You need to want to do something. I talk to my team. I says there's can-do, so you're doing it. There's can't-do. That's people who need support. Put your hand up. And then there's won't-do. I'm not really interested in the won't-do.
Fair play, Sean.
But if you go on the can-do, that's the first starting point. You have to have that belief. And let me tell you now, young people get a bad rap these days. But I tell you, the young people in our business are unbelievable. He's 31, he's a regional sales director. Alan Hargreaves is 33. I've got other people in branch sales managers positions in their 20s.
Fair play to you, mate.
And we're looking to develop underneath that.
So you're not just talking the talk, you're embracing it, you're making it happen.
But we need to go faster and we need to go.
That's what this series is all about. So who better to wrap up the episode than Lee /Harry Kane over there?
Yeah.
Look, the fella, he stood up today. I didn't know he was coming onto the show. I bet you didn't tell it. I bet you didn't tell it to this morning, did you? No, he thought he
never thought he was going swimming at 6:30.
Taking opportunities is what it's about, though,
mate. It's a can-do attitude. It's a can-do attitude.
Exactly.
I've called him by every name apart from his real one, but I've got his football team and where he's from.
I call him Waspy, so it's okay.
Yeah, I know you call it worse, mate. And Charlie will never let me forget that clip. Right? He will never. It will be front and centre like the North Star and everything I do. It will come up. But who better to wrap up episode 3 where we're talking about stars of the future? 3 words of advice, Lee. Over to you, mate. What would you say?
Short and sweet, if I'm honest. It's dream big, believe in yourself, and achieve. Like, everyone's going to lose, everyone's going to win, but as long as you're achieving, you talk about your 1%.
Yep.
Is it Kaizen?
It's Kaizen.
Kaizen, every day, improvement, 1%.
Every day.
But yeah, it's that self-belief.
Mate, absolute quality to bring those three things. So we're dreaming big, we're believing in ourselves, and we're taking action. There you go. Achieving and making a difference.
And just before we go, Pete, you need credit for what you've achieved. What you're doing is unbelievable. You're an ambassador for this industry. So thank you for your passion and enthusiasm as well. It really is.
I didn't see that coming.
I respect everything you do,
we see
mate.
some videos today, didn't we? And I was like, this Peter guy, he's got a bit about him. He's a big presence.
Yeah, if only you could get my surname right, it'd be an absolute diamond, mate. Do you know what I mean? So
the guy for Dragons Den, in fairness.
We'll still do a picture. So in this episode, we've spoken about my favourite TV show. We've spoken about my favourite TV show, Arthur Daly and Minder. I've spoken about Fulham Football Club. Lee spoke about his career and how he's made it as a young, going places sales director. DJ Nicky Bees took us on a journey from not the Bees, from Peter Sellers' wine bar or discotheque in Magaluf.
There was no wine bar, mate.
Peter Sellers Boozer in Magaluf to the BMF and to heading up his own division. I know you've got important things to do today. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute, wouldn't you agree, Charlie? It's been an absolute pleasure. I don't want this one to end. That, unfortunately, is the end of season 6, episode 3. What an episode. Thanks to our sponsor, Marcel from MHK Holding UK. We bumped into him last week, didn't we, Charlie? We bumped into him and he's so full of passion, he's so full of support for the podcast, and he actually just wants us to get guests on for them to be themselves. So, guys, we had 2 objectives. We walk in here smiling. You walking out of here having fun? You enjoyed it?
Yeah, that's it.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's the end of the Foy and Jones show. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as I said, that's the end of the show. Thanks for listening. Make sure you check out next week's episode as we will keep inspiring our stars of the future.